Imagine this, a land where humans built the very first cities, where the earliest lines of writing, law, and mathematics were pressed onto clay tablets, where giant ziggurats reached up to touch the sky in the name of gods. And yet, this same great empire collapsed into dust and silence. Was it nature's wrath, human greed, or a curse from the gods themselves? Where the past comes alive. Welcome to FOMO history. Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, the mighty Tigris and Euphrates carved fertile plains. It is here, around 6000 BCE, that small villages began to grow. From these roots, great cities like Uruk, Ur, and Lagash emerged. This was humanity's first true experiment with civilization. But why did this experiment not last forever? Uruk, around 3100 BCE, the world's first mega-city. Home to more than 50,000 people, life bustled in narrow streets. Markets, temples, and workshops filled the crowded city of Uruk. Here, Sumerian scribes pressed marks into clay to track grain and taxes. These simple symbols soon evolved into something greater, the world's first writing system, cuneiform. At first, it was used for accounts, tallying grain, and trade. But soon, it became the language of law, literature, and even the stars themselves, astronomy. Every city had its patron god. Uruk belonged to the goddess Inanna. Ur worshipped the moon, god Nana. Babylon served mighty Marduk. Rulers were not only kings, they were believed chosen by the gods. Sargon of Akkad is remembered as the first great empire builder. Hammurabi carved his code of law into basalt, declaring an eye for an eye. And Enheduanna, high priestess, wrote hymns to Inanna, history's first known author. Meanwhile, priests and scribes quietly kept society running, recording rations, sacrifices, and laws. Mesopotamian cities grew around temple complexes, the spiritual and economic hearts of life. The heart of Uruk was the great Eanna precinct, filled with shrines. Storage houses and workshops surrounded this sacred temple district. Massive canals cut through neighborhoods, earning cities the title. Venice of the desert, 9-kilometer-long walls with gates and towers surrounded Uruk for protection. And then there were the Ziggurat, the giant stepped pyramids of mud brick. The Ziggurat of Ur still stands today, a timeless testament to their might. These weren't just temples. They were symbols of power, connecting heaven and earth. Let's imagine children in dusty alleys playing the royal game of Ur. Women weave wool on wooden looms, crafting garments for their families. Farmers harvest barley in golden fields. Scribes practice cuneiform signs on fresh clay tablets. Their food, mostly barley bread, dates, onions, and their most important drink was beer. Beer was so central, it was given as wages to workers. Life was simple for commoners, but nobles and priests lived in luxury. Mesopotamians mastered water by digging canals, reservoirs, and drainage ditches. This irrigation created surpluses, but also dangers like salinization of soil. Their tools, wooden plows pulled by oxen, stone sickles for harvest. Potter's wheels shaped storage jars. Grinding stones turned grain into flour. Then came their most revolutionary inventions, the wheel and the plow. At first, the wheel was used for pottery, then for transport. It transformed warfare and farming, fueling the rise of great Mesopotamian cities. The plow? It allowed faster farming, producing surpluses for trade and population growth. In the tomb of Queen Puabi, archaeologists uncovered dazzling jewelry of gold, lapis lazuli, carnelian. Both men and women adorned themselves with necklaces, earrings, ornate golden headdresses. Commoners wore woolen tunics, while elites dressed in linen and shimmering fabrics. Some evidence of tattoos and body art hints at ritual or social roles. Music was everywhere in Mesopotamian life, from rituals to grand celebrations. Archaeologists unearthed lyres decorated with bull heads, symbols of ritual music and devotion. Festivals brought entire cities together, swelling with faith and festivity. And the grandest of all, the Akitu festival in Babylon, an 11-day New Year celebration of cosmic renewal. It featured processions, sacred dramas, and rituals reaffirming the king's divine authority. And of course, there were games for both nobles and commoners. The royal game of Ur, with dice and patterned boards, entertained all. Mesopotamia became a hub of long-distance trade, across deserts and seas. Caravans carried goods, lapis lazuli, carnelian, cedarwood, from distant lands. Riverboats and reed ships, waterproofed with bitumen, sailed the Persian Gulf. They linked Mesopotamia to Oman, Bahrain, and beyond through maritime routes. Cylinder seals, tiny engraved stones, served as personal signatures for trade. These trade networks stretched thousands of kilometers, making Mesopotamia a crossroads of civilization. Mesopotamian armies began as simple militias, raised from farming communities. Over time, they evolved into professional forces with advanced tactics. The Akkadians introduced composite bows and early siege tactics against enemies. The Assyrians perfected warfare with iron armor, cavalry, and towering siege engines. Their cruelty was infamous. Enemies often surrendered without a fight. Battles shaped Mesopotamia. Lagash and Umma fought bitterly over fertile land. Sargon crushed Lugal Zaggesi, forming the Akkadian Empire's foundation. Later revolts, Gutian invasions, and Hittite raids toppled Mesopotamian cities. From Mesopotamia came the foundations of science and mathematics. Their base 60 system gave us 60 minutes in an hour. It also gave us 360 degrees in a circle, still used today. They solved quadratic equations and calculated areas for land and building. They tracked celestial movements, linking stars and planets with human destiny. The Plimpton 322 tablet may be the earliest trigonometric table. Their star charts recorded eclipses, planetary movements, and omens of kingship. This was the first true marriage of observation and mathematics. But with achievements came mysteries that puzzle us even today. The Sumerian king list describes rulers reigning for thousands of years. Were these myths or forgotten dynasties hidden in time? The royal tombs of Ur contain dozens of sacrificed attendants. Were they forced victims or volunteers joining their queen after death? And then there is the so-called Baghdad battery. Was it an ancient electrical device or just a jar? Even the great Akkadian capital, Akkad, has never been found. Texts praise its glory, but archaeology has uncovered no trace. Mesopotamia leaves us with questions that remain unanswered. Around 2200 BCE, disaster struck this cradle of civilization. A severe drought, the 4.2 kilo-year event, devastated crops. Over-irrigation poisoned fields with salt, ruining fertile farmland. Internal revolts weakened kingdoms already stretched thin. Foreign invasions, Gutians, Amorites, Hittites, tore apart Mesopotamian cities. The fall wasn't one cause, but a perfect storm of disasters. Yet Mesopotamian traditions lived on. Law, astronomy, and literature survived. In the 19th and 20th centuries, treasures were carried to Western museums. Many Mesopotamian artifacts remain outside Iraq even today. In 2003, looters stole 15,000 objects from the Iraq Museum. But modern Iraqi archaeologists and UNESCO work to protect heritage. A civilization that gave us writing, law, and cities vanished. Was it drought, human mismanagement, or endless invasion? Perhaps it was all woven into a fate no one escaped. Mesopotamia warns us, no matter how great, civilizations are fragile. Their achievements live on, in clocks, maps, and our laws. But their downfall reminds us of the cost of overreach. So now I ask you, what truly caused Mesopotamia's collapse? A curse of the gods, or the mistakes of men? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below.